Why gay men should stay single. Hey guys, Michael Pizzulo here, psychotherapist in West Hollywood, working mostly with gay men and gay couples. So while a lot of guys are on the hunt for relationships, I want to talk about why some guys are actually better suited for the single life. And I don't want to say this in a sense of, that being single is like settling or is something that's less good than being partnered. I really want to speak to people who, at least at this point in their life, genuinely are thriving more as a single man rather than being partnered, and 4 reasons why being single in a single life works better for them. So the first one is really simple. It would be that you are prioritizing autonomy and independence over companionship. And that might sound pretty simple and obvious, but I think that's really where you have to start. People in relationships, there's a push and pull of, companionship, connection, quality time, but also sacrificing your personal freedom. You can't just pick up and go on an international vacation, at the drop of a hat, for example. So if you're at a place in your life where you're really prizing your independence, your autonomy, your freedom, and you just don't really want to do a lot of compromising, then this might be a time where being single is just better suited for you, at least right now. The second one would be that you don't want to put in the relational work. And what I mean by that is that in relationships, I don't like when people say, oh, being, a relationship, it's so much work, as though it's like they're doing physics or some super complicated Herculean task. But really that, yes, when you're in a relationship, it does take compromise, and really it just takes effort. I wouldn't say that it's so much effort, but it does take effort, and particularly relational effort, meeting someone else's needs, negotiating your needs, emotional labor, those sorts of things. So if you're finding yourself where you're in a place in your life, either right now or maybe even just in general, where you don't particularly enjoy that type of effort and that type of output, then being single might be better for you, at least right now. There might be other areas where you love putting in effort and you exert yourself in those ways. But if you don't enjoy the compromising and that sort of thing, then being single might be better for you. The third one would be, and I think this is actually a huge strength, is if you are someone who is highly self-sufficient. So, relationships allow us to not just compromise, but also to get. We don't just give, we also receive. So a lot of your needs are going to be met by someone else, which is, kind of great. But if you're single, you have to rely on yourself to do everything, just from tasks, finances, emotional labor, all of it. And if you're someone who is very self-sufficient and highly relies on themselves, which again, I think is a really positive trait, then you might be really well suited for the single life. Because when you have a partner, you can outsource a lot of things onto them, which is often kind of the main driving reason why people get into relationships. But if you're someone who has the strength already of being highly self-sufficient, you might do pretty well being single. So this, I would say, really is a strength that may, equip you more for being single. So you can be very highly self-sufficient and still be partnered. But if you have this quality, being single might be great. And the last one I would say is, and this is more about, a pattern, is that if you find that you don't know how to find safe relationships, and this is something that we often see with people who have, developmental wounds or have been through trauma, where they find themselves repeatedly in unsafe relationships, whether that's like emotionally, maybe even physically, unfortunately. And if you're still in that kind of pattern, I would say it is so important that you do some work on yourself so that you don't continue to, fall into this trap. The idea is that relationships should add to your life, and they should be a place of safety. They're always going to be flawed. They're not going to be perfect. But if you're finding that, a relationship is actually a place of peril for you, then I would say definitely, being single is probably the way to go for now. And that you can invest really in your mental health and your emotional well-being to figure out why you are ending up back in that scenario over and over again. So those are really the 4 reasons I would say that people, gay men would enjoy being single more. And again, I don't like when people phrase it as sort of like, I've given up on dating, so I guess I'll be single. I really mean like, no, I can date, I can have a relationship, but I'm choosing to be single. Like, this is my active choice. It's not a resignation. So those are my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, as always. If you are single, if you're enjoying it, if you choose to be single, I'd love to hear your perspectives. As always, please, like this video, subscribe to my channel if you want more content like this. And if you want to reach out to me directly as a therapist or as a coach, you can book a consult, and I will put the link in the description, and I'll see you guys in the next one.